On the eve of the wedding, my fiancé, Ethan's childhood sweetheart, returned. The golden girl, once so radiant, had become mentally impaired due to an accident, refusing to accept anyone but Ethan. I thought Ethan wouldn't bother with her. After all, 8 years ago, their bitter conflict led to a complete rupture, with Chloe leaving the country and Ethan's family ending up in the hospital. Since we started dating, he had always put me first. Our friends often teased Ethan, whose long-held crush had come true, calling him famously under his wife's thumb. Yet now, he was on the phone, frantic to go pick someone up, oblivious to my return home. "Hold off on decorating the wedding venue," he said. "Chloe can't handle the idea of me getting married. Your sister-in-law won't mind," he added. "She loves me so much, she even cut ties with her family to marry me." Ethan was certain I would marry him. What he didn't know was that my dad was a very two-faced person. He had not only prepared a sky-high trust fund to help this imposter secure his position in the Blake family, but also, he had arranged a fiancé for me long ago. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. A few days ago, I heard that Chloe was back in the country, demanding Ethan pick her up, but I didn't think much of it. He hadn't reacted at all when he heard the news. Instead, he was too nervous to sleep as our wedding day approached. Now, the long-awaited wedding had become, in his words, an insignificant ceremony. Ethan's phone was constantly busy, so I went to the hotel. The nearly completed wedding setup was gone, everything had been removed. The hotel manager avoided me. A knot of anger tightened in my chest when I got home. Just as I was about to confront Ethan, 2 vases came flying straight at me. "Thief! Robber! Who told you to steal my Ethan?" Ceramic shards scattered at my feet, cutting my calf. I cried out in pain and stumbled back several steps. Chloe wasn't satisfied. She quickly walked up to me, grabbing a handful of shards as if impervious to pain, and tried to throw them at my face. I instinctively put my arm up to block her. Ethan's face went ashen. He rushed out of the kitchen and grabbed her hand. The pain in my leg made me feel furious and wronged when I saw him. He, who used to be so careful not to let me get even a scratch, didn't spare me a single glance. "Chloe, are you trying to hurt yourself?" He immediately took out the first aid kit to treat Chloe's wound. His furrowed brows and eyes were filled with heartache. I looked up and froze for a moment. Not only was Ethan somewhat of a stranger, but so was the house. The jewelry he had given me and the latest season's designer clothes had been moved into another new room. The room was a disaster. Wedding photos and our old photos together were shredded and scattered everywhere. The red wedding banners had all been crumpled up and torn down. Anything red had been destroyed. The family's staff had been called in to clean, and cute plush toys had been placed in spots Ethan had personally designated. Corner protectors were installed on all the table corners. He was still so meticulous, just like when he personally designed every part of our home. But this was supposed to be our wedding home. The unease in my heart solidified into a palpable fear. "Ethan, what is the meaning of this?" He finally remembered me, and the soft, reassuring smile froze on his lips as he turned. After a quick glance around, his face showed guilt and panic. "Willow." As stood up, Chloe immediately hugged his waist, pouting and crying. "Ethan, why were you so mean to me just now?" Her emotions suddenly flared up, and she pointed at me viciously. "Is it because of this hateful woman who stole you from me?" Ethan noticed the cut on my leg, and helplessly, he signaled Maria to come over and bandage it for me. Afterwards, he nervously pulled me into the study. "Willow. Please don't be mad at Chloe. Even though she's a few years older than you, her memory is currently stuck around the age of 10. His voice was full of apprehension. "She's always been spoiled since she was little. She ruined our wedding home when I wasn't paying attention. You'll understand, won't you?" Ethan averted his gaze from mine, finally making up his mind. "You know, ever since the Wynn family went bankrupt, her parents have vanished without a trace, and she doesn't remember any relatives or friends. Chloe. She can only rely on me. She'll be living here from now on." This sudden decision struck me as absurd and ridiculous. "I don't understand, and I don't accept it. First, you cancel our wedding for her, then you remodel our wedding home. Should I just give her my place entirely?" He, however, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. "So you found out about the wedding?" Ethan rubbed my shoulders as usual, chuckling lightly. "Honey, you're not jealous of someone with the mind of a 10-year-old, are you? How about we take some time in a couple of days to get our marriage license, and as for the wedding, we can hold it once her condition stabilizes." I pulled away from his hand in disappointment. "Her illness, what does that have to do with us?" Ethan's face was etched with an unshakable guilt. She developed psychological problems after I forced her to go abroad, and after hearing about our engagement, she had an accident while drinking, only recovering to this state after more than a year of rest. I wronged her, I should take responsibility for her. This was a notification, not a discussion. I knew Ethan well, and his unwavering resolve struck me as jarring. That very evening, he appeased his family and posted a social media post confirming the wedding cancellation. My dad's call came through too, his voice laced with suppressed anger. "Willow, are you two not getting married anymore?" Clenching my phone, I kept my emotions in check. "No, not for now." Ethan had accidentally overheard me saying I'd cut ties with my family, but it was just my dad's angry remark when he found out I wouldn't come back to Northwood for the wedding. Lost in memories of the past, I didn't sleep a wink that night. When learned I liked him too, he was so overjoyed he wanted to tell the whole world. My dad initially disapproved of Ethan and me being together because he already had a perfect son-in-law in mind. Ethan never complained about these criticisms. Instead, he dedicated himself to proving his worth. Even though he always thought I came from an ordinary family, he never showed disrespect or superiority. "It must be because I'm not good enough that uncle isn't satisfied," he'd said. Everyone knew Ethan was determined to marry me. He gradually transformed from being rebellious and unruly to composed and steady. My dad only started to warm up to him after he achieved success at the company, and on our engagement day, Ethan was so overwhelmed he cried, "Uncle, please don't worry, I will never let Willow suffer." And he truly lived up to his word, always maintaining strong boundaries, rejecting any ambiguity, and keeping me at the forefront of his mind in everything. But from the moment Chloe returned, he broke his promise. The next day, Ethan emerged from Chloe's room with dark circles under his eyes. Seeing my shocked expression, he awkwardly explained, "She has no sense of security, she needs someone to comfort her to fall asleep." I walked past him to the walk-in closet, intending to put away the wedding dress I had prepared. The display rack, however, was empty. A dreadful premonition suddenly rose in my heart. Giggles drifted from downstairs. Chloe was painting while wearing my wedding dress. The skirt had been cut short, and all sorts of paints were mixed together on it, its original appearance long gone. All I could hear was a roaring in my ears. That was the wedding dress my deceased mother had meticulously designed for me, revising it again and again during her lifetime. It wasn't just a memento she left behind, it was a mother's abundant love and blessings for her daughter. Now, it was utterly destroyed. She twirled in front of me, looking at me provocatively. Her eyes were clear, devoid of any foolishness, and I understood in an instant. "Bad woman, how do you like my princess dress? It's pretty with all the colors, right?" I clenched my fists, fury surging to my head. "Take it off." She ignored me, continuing to paint. "Why should I?" "No. Ethan told me when he slept with me last night that this is my home, and everything here can be mine." I grabbed Chloe's hair and slapped her twice, hard. "Ah! Ethan, save me." She cried out for help. I said, "Take it off." Her long, manicured nails scratched at my hand, but I didn't let go. When I raised my hand again, Ethan stopped me. Chloe, as if startled, cowered in his arms, accusing me of trying to kill her. Ethan looked at me defensively. "It's just a dress, why are you acting crazy and hitting people?" I was shaking with anger. "She's faking her illness." He didn't believe me. Following my gaze, he saw the dress Chloe was wearing, and his eyes instantly froze. "Chloe, didn't I tell you not to touch Willow's things?" "You." Chloe gasped for air, then her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. Ethan panicked, scooped her up, told Maria to change her clothes, and made several frantic calls to rush the doctor. "Willow, please don't provoke her." He still wanted me to compromise. Mechanically, I picked up the tattered wedding dress that lay abandoned in the corner. A profound sense of powerlessness enveloped me. When entered the room and saw me packing, his expression changed. "Willow, I'll have someone fix it. It's also my fault for not making things clear. I'll have Chloe apologize to you right now." He pulled me into Chloe's room. Chloe clutched his shirt sleeve, looking lost and helpless. "Ethan, please don't be angry. You said this is my hoe." "Me. How can it be because of someone else?" She looked at me, then suddenly lost control, got out of bed, and started banging her head hard. "Please leave, okay? I'll give you all my toys, I just want Ethan." Shock and struggle flickered in Ethan's eyes, but he didn't immediately pull her up. When he tried to come and comfort me, Chloe cried out, pulled out a hidden knife, and threatened to cut herself. "I only have Ethan. Make her leave." The therapist said she had a physiological aversion to me. Watching cry breathlessly, Ethan hugged her, blocking her view of me. Her emotions are unstable. Willow, please leave here for now. Two nurses pushed me out the door. Outside, it was pouring rain, and no one answered when I knocked. My vision blurred, and I felt a chill run through my entire body. Without my phone and still in my pajamas, I had to walk out of the gated community to get picked up. I ended up in the hospital with a cold and a fever. When I saw Ethan's hurried figure, I instinctively followed him. It's been half a year, and her condition is still the same? It was the same therapist's voice. Chloe's obsession is you, so she only remembers you. Who told you to deliberately send her engagement news and cause her accident? She sighed. Her condition hasn't improved because you only visited her once a month. Of course, she's afraid you'll abandon her. So it's perfectly normal for her to be hostile towards your partner. If you don't want Chloe to have a relapse, you need to remove the unsafe factors. Ethan's voice held a warning tone. Enough. Don't talk nonsense. So, they had been in contact for over a year already. No wonder he was so practiced at caring for Chloe. I found it incredibly ironic. This was what he called his monthly business trip. My complete trust in Ethan was now a joke. Because of today's incident, he had even hired a bodyguard specifically for Chloe. That evening, Ethan picked me up to pack some of my clothes. He stared at my red eyes, carefully asking, Willow, would you mind moving out for a while? In front of me was the marriage license application, already scheduled. I nodded, turned off my phone screen, and closed my burning eyes. When I got home, there was a small dog in the backyard. The ring from Ethan's hand was around its neck. The reason given was that Chloe was afraid the dog would get lost, and the unique ring could serve as a dog tag. Calmly, I took off the other ring on my hand and dropped it into my pocket. I lowered my head and accepted the friend request. The person on the other end immediately sent a message. Don't worry, Uncle's many years of support for the Blake family won't be in vain. Then they sent over a wedding planning document, updated annually according to my preferences. Before, my dad had rejected it for me. This time, I clicked accept. 2 days later, Ethan sent me a message. Didn't we agree to get our marriage license today? Willow, why aren't you here? Busy with work handover, I hadn't answered his calls. A few hours later, he sent me the address of a remote, unknown hotel. Is it just about the wedding? I'll do it for you. Don't be childish. Our almost 10 years together, just because of some small things. Someone had posted this simple, perfunctory location in the group chat. It also mentioned that Ethan had only invited a few close friends and asked for the wedding to be kept a secret. People who once envied our relationship were now openly and subtly mocking me. Our 10 years together were no match for Chloe's 10 years of mental age. Messages in the group chat were still piling up. I paused, typed, and sent, no wedding. We're done. After sending that message, I exited the group. But still thought I was just throwing a tantrum and sent his mother to persuade me. When saw me, she no longer hid her dislike for me, her eyes even gleamed with satisfaction. She sat in her wheelchair, head held high, and glanced at me with disdain. My son is supporting a woman, and you're making such a fuss. What would happen if you actually married into the Blake family? She told me to know my place and learn to be generous and forgiving. I neither got angry nor argued back. I was, however, quite curious if she would still be so optimistic if she knew that the woman her son was supporting was the daughter of the person who had run her over, leaving her a cripple, and who also spread rumors that Eleanor came from being a mistress. Moreover, it seemed she had forgotten that she herself had swapped paternity test results to marry into the Blake family. She and Ethan were nothing but usurpers in the Blake household. The day Ethan came to the company, I had my resignation ready. As soon as I walked in, everyone's stares were clearly off. Unpleasant words like slept her way to the top and homewrecker echoed around me. Before I could even ask, a cup of ice water was poured over my head, and Chloe glared at me hatefully. She led some people and locked me in the break room. With her back to everyone, her face was hideous and terrifying. She lowered her voice. You bitch. If my family hadn't gone bankrupt and you hadn't taken advantage, Ethan would never have been with you. I'm warning you, if you don't leave and keep forcing him to marry you, I'll have your reputation ruined and exposed online. She curled her lip. And those things your deceased mother left you? I deliberately destroyed them. I wouldn't be caught dead with such trash. Chloe gritted her teeth and pulled my hand forcefully towards her chest. She fell to the ground, and her ankle instantly swelled. Several colleagues rushed in to help her. I was pushed into a corner, and some people maliciously stomped on my feet. I stood up and splashed the hot coffee onto her triumphant face. The 2 cups I threw down forcefully were blocked by Ethan. Slap. My cheek stung hotly. Ethan's gaze towards me was colder than ever. Was it really necessary? Ethan paused, drawing his hand to rub his forehead in frustration. Throwing cups at people's heads. Willow, when did you become so vicious and despicable? A wedding is just a formality at the end of the day. You forced me by refusing to get the marriage license, and I agreed, so why are you still not satisfied? He carried Chloe and left directly, his bodyguard blocking my path. The sneers around me made me feel utterly humiliated. Swallowing the words of defense I wanted to speak, I left the company and returned to Northwood. Afterward, he continued to send the wedding dress to my house, but he didn't realize it was consistently unsigned for. All his messages remained as unread notifications. I simply deleted and blocked all his contact information. Ethan knew he had gone too far that day, but Chloe was clingy, and he couldn't get away. He kept thinking that everything would be fine once the wedding was over, and they could talk then. A week later, the person who appeared at the hotel wasn't me, it was Chloe. Ethan helplessly pulled the woman who had run into his arms away. Why did you follow me? Didn't I tell you I wouldn't abandon you even if I got married? The assistant returned after taking a phone call, so flustered he nearly lost his footing. Mr. Blake, funding for the company's Horizon has been withdrawn. And also, I heard, that person seems to be back in the country. At the same time, a grand wedding in Northwood was being live-streamed on the public screen across from the hotel. After clearly saw the bride's face on the screen, his complexion instantly turned ashen. Ethan, I've recovered some of my memories. Gasps of astonishment drowned out Chloe's voice. She waited for a response for a long time. Just as she wondered why, the few friends invited as guests erupted. They pointed at the screen opposite them in disbelief. That's Willow, isn't it? Isn't this the Northwood's richest heiress's wedding? Why is she here? They then pulled out their phones and confirmed it several times. It really is Willow. Who is she marrying? The camera shifted angle, and they happened to see most of the wedding scene. The groom's profile is really handsome. On that screen, guests filled the seats, wedding vows were exchanged, and everyone applauded and offered blessings as we exchanged rings. Here, there were only a few scattered tables and chairs, and flowers whose shapes had been ruined by Chloe's tugging. The banquet table was knocked over by Ethan's frantic steps, and the sound of breaking glass made them exchange awkward glances. Ethan, what's going on? You and Willow. Ethan couldn't even force a faint smile. Chloe's eyes darkened instantly as she watched his reaction. She disdainfully glanced at the screen, adjusted her expression, and reverted to her innocent demeanor, shaking her head with feigned distress. Is she mad at me, so she spent a lot of money to hire people to put on a show? That's how it always happens on TV. What does a professor's daughter have to do with a rich man? She definitely did it to steal my Ethan. Ethan subconsciously touched the ring finger of his left hand, where there was nothing. A void opened up in his heart. It must be. She's been mad at me lately. Willow can't stand being wronged. He suddenly stopped. His friends watched the live stream from an account with tens of millions of followers, silent. They didn't actually believe I would marry someone else either. Ethan loved me, and I gave a lot to him in return. I was meticulous in every aspect of our life, to the point of being beyond reproach. But facts couldn't be denied. And the names beneath the bride and groom stand couldn't be denied either. Chloe, oblivious, handed the ring box to Ethan, smiling shyly. So, let's get married today too. For all these days, Ethan had granted her almost every request. Dr. Claire said this is how you can always take care of me, and my head will get better. Most importantly, we need to get proof of our marriage. Ethan found her voice grating. He asked a friend to take Chloe home. Chloe, I don't have time to play house with you right now. Go home first. He turned and found a quiet spot, naturally not seeing the resentment and anxiety in Chloe's eyes. My phone remained unreachable. Messages sent only showed red exclamation marks. Ethan then realized I hadn't replied to a single one of his lectures. His previous chat history clearly showed responses to every message, and he scrolled up with a trembling hand. When did it start? It began when he sent Chloe's medical records, demanding my patience and acceptance. After that, all the content was about Chloe, and whenever we disagreed, he never took my side. The certainty that we were indispensable to each other suddenly vanished. He never took my breakup seriously, even deliberately ignoring me to make me admit fault. The unpleasant feeling of things spiraling out of control made Ethan feel somewhat suffocated. Go to this location first. He handed the address on his phone to his assistant and then drove away. But he left Chloe, whose ankle hadn't yet recovered, stranded there. Ethan. No matter how she called, Ethan didn't look back. When he arrived at my residence, Ethan found that no matter what password he tried, it was wrong. The property manager informed him that the owner had moved out about a week ago, and the property was already listed for sale. The wedding dress at the door and the valuable items in various gift boxes were handed over to Ethan intact by the property manager. He belatedly realized that beneath my changing emotions lay a desire to leave. That's impossible, right? Willow can't marry someone else, she said she'd marry me. That live stream must have been fake. But then he suddenly remembered the unspoken words on the day I submitted my resignation, my calm and distant gaze, and how, in a fit of anger, he had deliberately overlooked that I was also hurt. Realizing the wedding was real, and that I had left the city so decisively, Ethan's heart was consumed by extreme panic. His assistant had warned him before. He was always meticulous. It was impossible that he hadn't realized how much each compromise hurt me. He had simply shifted his focus to someone else. Chloe, once proud, strong, and unyielding, had become fragile and clingy. The moment Ethan softened towards her and met Chloe behind my back, the nature of things changed. The assistant looked at Ethan, who was red-eyed and distraught, and hesitated whether to mention the project's withdrawn funding again. His phone rang. Ethan, Chloe got into a car accident. How could you leave her alone at the hotel, knowing she only trusts you, and then let your friend take her home? She was in this state when she first heard you were getting married. Aren't you afraid she'll hurt herself again? Chloe's cries of emotional breakdown, smashing things, and wailing could be heard through the phone. Ethan felt a strange sense of annoyance. This kind of manipulation again. You take care of her for now, or have Maria from the house come. I have something important I can't leave. Chloe's crying stopped abruptly, the euphoria she felt from my sensible departure instantly fading. She anonymously sent a message to Richard. Ethan frantically hung up the phone, then began searching for the nearest flight to Northwood. Mr. Blake, the company. Drive to the airport. We must get to Northwood tonight. Plans changed unexpectedly. Ethan's car was pulled over halfway there. Richard got out of his car and slapped him hard. You unfilial son. You haven't been to the company for so many days, do you even know there are problems? Ethan then realized that several of the company's partners intended to cancel future collaborations, and this unusual situation filled him with unease. Get back and deal with it now. His fists clenched and unclenched, he had no choice. After a deep glance in the direction of the airport, he could only return to the company to handle these troubles first. In the car, the assistant mentioned the withdrawn funding, subtly observing Ethan's expression. Ethan's brow twitched sharply. Without the largest investment, the horizon, into which he had invested most of his time and effort, would be impossible to advance. Company matters had kept him overwhelmed for the past month. During this time, he kept changing numbers to contact me. Willow, that day was my fault. I'm sorry. Don't do anything impulsive out of anger. I know the wedding is fake, and you're not living together. Wait for me. After finally stabilizing the situation, he planned to go to Northwood. Julian and I, however, had come here. Ethan was overjoyed to hear I was back. He meticulously prepared himself and bought a gift. But the moment he saw Julian beside me, his expression went blank for an instant. You. It's you. Julian's grip on my hand tightened slightly, and I squeezed his hand back. He had confirmed my feelings towards Ethan several times, but he was still nervous. Mr. Blake is truly generous. Do your parents know you're using the Blake family's money to support Chloe and her whole family? Ethan's face darkened. This person was indeed behind the company's recent troubles. He reached out his hand to me, his voice trembling. Willow, come here. You must know who he is now, right? He only married you to get revenge on me. Don't let him deceive you. I didn't move. We've already broken up. Who I marry has nothing to do with you. Ethan seemed stung by my indifferent tone. He anxiously stepped forward to pull me. Come home with me first. We just have some misunderstandings. Julian's eyes turned cold, and he threw several punches. Who gave you the nerve to hit Willow? Ethan stopped resisting when he heard that. Julian shook his hand with satisfaction. Grandfather's shares are in my hands. As for Blake, will you step down yourself? Or, now at Blake, Julian had become the largest shareholder. Ethan wiped his bleeding lip. So you've come back to take my place? Julian had once not wanted to take it, disdained to take it. But why not now? He nodded. You could say that. Ethan's face was taut as he looked at me. Willow, I'm sorry. I was impulsive that day. You can hit me back however you want. I never agreed to break up. Give me some time, I'll take care of the things you don't like, and then you'll come back. See? He always knew what I disliked. When we could have had a proper discussion, he chose to make me endure and compromise. Now, his superfluous actions only annoyed me. He placed the gift box in my car, and, afraid I would refuse again, he averted my gaze and turned to leave. Ethan was truly in a panic. He knew the Gu family's power and how exceptional Julian was. Eleanor knew Julian's presence in the Blake family would inevitably threaten her and her son, so she chose to switch the paternity test results and abandon Julian in the remote Blackwood. It was through his own early success that the Gu family found him. Richard had been distant from Ethan ever since he learned Ethan wasn't his biological son. His subsequent kindness was also due to Richard's inability to manage the company, using him more than caring for him. The project couldn't be delayed any longer. If returned, Ethan's position in the Blake family would be precarious. Without connections and capital, Ethan couldn't be a suitable match for the Chi family. When he found out I was the Chi family's heiress, he hadn't resented my dad and me for concealing my identity. Instead, he understood my dad's good intentions and his displeasure when Ethan wanted to marry me and take me 1,000 kilometers away from home. Many people in their circle had grown up hearing about how the Chi family in Northwood had dismantled numerous human trafficking dens. The family's cherished daughter had been kidnapped at 5 years old, suffering trauma that almost cost her her life. After T. Hat, she never appeared in public again, protected and hidden by her family as she grew up. A dull ache surged in Ethan's chest. He hadn't kept the promise he made to Mr. Chi. He thought, just a little longer, once he was no longer a threat within the Blake family, he would personally go and beg for forgiveness. After returning to the company, Ethan kept trying to contact the mysterious investor from before. My dad hadn't immediately refused, and his ambiguous attitude kept Ethan in constant apprehension. Ethan found Chloe a new house in Maria. No matter how much she cried and fussed, Ethan didn't soften. It was exactly like 8 years ago, when her family went bankrupt, and he was indifferent as she pressured him to marry her. She regretted using the car accident as an excuse to recover some of her memories prematurely. She had clearly wanted to cultivate their relationship with Ethan, but she hadn't expected him to make her move out of the wedding home because of it. Afraid would abandon her, she could only concede and agree for now. Sulking at a friend's house, she still didn't forget to send him a message. Ethan, I want a new handbag. Give me a few more million this month. Ethan's hand, poised to transfer money, paused. He remembered Julian's words. The assistant walked into the office, his face complex, holding the break room surveillance footage. Chloe's voice couldn't be heard on the screen, but her face showed no innocence or naivete. The cruel expression was identical to the one she had 8 years ago when she drove into his family. Ethan clearly saw Chloe's actions, and how several employees exchanged knowing glances and maliciously stomped on my feet. He immediately instructed HR to process the resignations of those few people. After a long silence, a low, cold voice made the assistant shiver. Investigate the Wen family. Julian was the one who saved me when I was little. When I was 5, on the way to being trafficked into the Blackwood, I said human traffickers cruelly abusing other children and women, which left me with a huge trauma. My family didn't want me to recall those memories, so they never mentioned anyone or anything related to that kidnapping in front of me. But my dad had been funding Julian, and when he discovered Julian's business acumen, he hired specialists to train him, until he was recognized and returned to the Gu family. Since childhood, I had always had an impression of a classmate who always wore a mask and walked the same route as me every day. The boy's figure overlapped with the man in front of me. When I asked Julian about it, he nodded. When I was little, I had no relatives. Uncle saved me from the mountains, funded my schooling, and taught me social etiquette. Because he was grateful for such thoughtful help, even with bodyguards outside school, he habitually walked behind me to ensure my safety. Seeing how uncomfortable he became when I got close, I couldn't help but tease him. Are you marrying me because you want to be my dad's son? No, I'm happy to become part of your family, but I will only marry someone I love. Julian's tone was serious, and the directness and warmth in his gaze made my cheeks flush. Chloe hadn't received the transfer and couldn't reach Ethan. After some inquiries, she assumed I was back to cause trouble. Willow, you bitch. Are you back to threaten Ethan again? I told you to get out. Disturbed in the middle of the night by this frantic call, I decisively blocked her. When I woke up, I discovered I was trending online. Multiple intimate photos of Ethan and Chloe in the wedding home accidentally leaked when she took her phone for repair. Chloe wanted me to retreat out of difficulty, and more importantly, she wanted Ethan to take responsibility for her. She repeated her old trick, listing a timeline of her and Ethan's relationship from childhood to present, including the detailed expenses for his funding her studies abroad, as well as various videos of their sweet moments together during the year since her accident. Her high school classmates and friends came out to testify for her. She had photos, witness testimonies, and forged physical evidence. I became the person who seduced and confused Ethan after she left, a conscious homewrecker. Online, she poured out years of her pain, claiming that my interference in their relationship caused her to suffer from severe depression and get into a car accident. The cyberbullying was overwhelming, and the comments were unbearable. Julian's lips were tightly pressed, his brow furrowed, and a shadow of darkness flickered in his eyes. Old habits die hard. He pulled the tablet from my hand. Willow, don't look anymore. I'll contact a lawyer right away. I smiled and pointed to the sent email page. Don't worry about it for now. Someone will take action. Ethan couldn't suppress the trending topic. So he distanced himself from Chloe on the platform, asserting that he would absolutely not marry her. Richard and the senior executives, fearing continued damage to the company's reputation, announced Ethan's suspension. Julian and I returned to the Blake family estate. As the largest shareholder in the company, he stepped forward at the opportune moment to take charge of the situation. Richard initially disagreed. This biological son was difficult to control. Back then, he resented Julian for not acknowledging him, fearing Julian would hold a grudge and refuse to give him money. But due to circumstances, he had no choice but to interfere, so he grudgingly signed the agreement Julian presented to him. On the day of Julian's recognition banquet, Ethan sought me out. The wedding dress in the room looked almost identical to the one my mother made for me. Ethan remembered the details of the wedding dress and personally sketched it out for someone to remake. But what did it matter? Anything that wasn't personally made by my mother held no meaning to me. He knew too that one thing ruined long ago could never be truly fixed. Please, Willow, come back to me? I've had the wedding replanned. This time, I promise it will be everything you ever wanted. Don't believe what you read online. You know nothing could ever happen between us. Those photos were deliberately angled, they're all fake. Ethan had lost a lot of weight from being busy with business dinners and meetings, and he instinctively clutched at his uneasy stomach. Seeing my indifferent expression, so unlike the concern I used to show him, he paled, dropping his gaze in disappointment. So was the year you secretly took care of her a lie too? His lips had lost all color. Besides, whether I believe it or not doesn't matter. The netizens believed it now, and so did his parents. The commotion outside grew louder. I turned and walked away. I couldn't possibly miss the upcoming drama. Chloe seemed baffled by Ethan's sudden coldness, and his disregard for her condition. They had gotten along so well this past year, like they were children again. He had even said he wouldn't dwell on his parents' past grievances anymore. She had done everything in her power to slander me, forcing Ethan to make a decision, and seemingly not caring about Ethan's precarious position at the company. Eleanor believed Chloe was the reason Ethan had been replaced. When received the email, she immediately contacted the media, exposing all its contents without hesitation. The earlier comments had completely turned around. Oh my God, this woman has a husband and child, and she's still chasing Ethan? Husband? What husband? Her kept man ran off ages ago. She's never even been officially married to anyone. That child was born when she was a rich man's mistress abroad. He refused to acknowledge it, and she even went after his wife, getting beaten half to death. The depression, the car accident, all an act. All that talk about childhood friends ending up together? Total BS. She liked Ethan, but he never liked her back. When she was at International High School in Northwood, she tried to get people to go after Willow out of jealousy, but Willow had protection at school, so she didn't succeed. What an actress. Turns out she was the homewrecker all along. Her elaborate schemes had backfired spectacularly. She was subjected to such severe cyberbullying that she didn't dare leave her home. Dr. Claire, who had helped Chloe forge medical records, not only didn't get more money but was also fired from the hospital. Dr. Claire unceremoniously dismissed Chloe, regardless of their past association. Unwilling to give up, Chloe tried to track Ethan down again, hoping to use her plight to gain his forgiveness. So, she managed to slip into the Blake family's banquet with some other guests. When spotted Chloe, she publicly grabbed and began to hit her. You shameless creature. Just like your parents, those hypocritical old hags. 8 years ago, you weren't satisfied with ruining me like this, and now you dare to pester my son again. Chloe shrieked, clutching her face, then shoved Eleanor away. You cripple, you deserve it. All my misfortunes are your fault. I used to call you godmother, and you said you hoped I'd become your daughter-in-law. But when my family went bankrupt, I begged you for help, and you just belittled me and refused to agree to anything. If you had just let me marry your son, I wouldn't have gone abroad, wouldn't have been burdened with debt, and certainly wouldn't have become a mistress and had a child just for money. Eleanor pointed at her, trembling with rage. It was your parents who first betrayed the Blake family, causing the company to lose hundreds of millions. And you have the gall to want to marry in and have us pay off your parents' debts? Have you forgotten how you knelt on the ground like a dog, begging us not to press charges for that hit and run? It was only because my Ethan was kind enough to help you out, and I never expected you not NLY to be ungrateful but to come back trying to leech off us again. Chloe was utterly speechless, rebuffed by Eleanor's words. Many of the guests were old acquaintances, and Chloe was subjected to such ridicule that she couldn't lift her head, just like I had been at the company. Eleanor then saw Ethan, pulled him aside, and quietly admonished him. Ethan, you know perfectly well that she's the reason my leg is like this now. How can you still be involved with her? If she hadn't ruined your reputation, your father wouldn't have kicked you out of the company. I realized Eleanor had deliberately let Chloe in for two reasons. Firstly, she wanted to disrupt the smooth running of the banquet. Secondly, she aimed to help Ethan salvage his reputation during the event. When saw Ethan, large tears streamed down her swollen face. Ethan, I truly love you. Faking my illness before was out of desperation, it was the only way I thought you'd pay attention to me. As for what's online, I only acted that way because I felt so insecure. Can you forgive me? I didn't mean to be the other woman, it was just that your rejection at the time hurt me so much. Ethan remained unmoved, and directly pulled his hand away from hers. You chose this path of degradation yourself. What does that have to do with me? His voice was unforgivingly cold. Also, your parents were arrested the moment they returned to the country. You might want to visit them when you have a moment. Chloe's eyes widened, and she collapsed weakly onto the floor. Ethan, you're so cruel. What did all your kindness to me mean? You gave me hope, promised me money, said I could bring my parents back. You're punishing me. Knowing there was no hope of reconciliation, she continued to curse relentlessly even as the security guards dragged her away. The family's eldest son is back now, and you, the imposter, will never take his rightful place. Willow will never want you. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, and his fingers trembled as he took out a ring. When the black Maybach pulled up, a spark of light ignited in his eyes, only to extinguish the very next second. Uncle. My father walked past Ethan and clapped Julian on the shoulder. I'm here to bring a gift for my son-in-law. The guests present were all stunned when they heard the investment amount, everyone praising Julian's good fortune. Julian returned to his own company, so of course, I had to come and show my support. Only then did Ethan realize what he had truly missed. The mysterious investor was none other than my family. His pride seemed to instantly crumble into the dirt. All his desperate struggles at the company before would never amount to anything. The ring in his hand clattered to the floor. Julian took my hand, the massive diamond ring on it sparkling brightly. He smiled and spoke. Almost all my assets are with my wife, so I wonder what claim you have to pursue, Willow? Ethan stammered, unable to speak, his eyes filled only with sadness and despair. All right, you two head back to your rooms for now. Ethan and his mother had no dignity left to stay. Richard, seeing the situation, immediately had them escorted out of the banquet. Afterward, Julian moved the Blake family's company headquarters to Northwood. As he grew older, Richard, to curry favor with Julian, chose to divorce Eleanor. Thanks to their prenuptial agreement, Eleanor received almost none of the assets. Chloe would constantly bring her child to harass Ethan. I heard they became so utterly fed up that they had no choice but to return to their hometown. I never saw Ethan again after that. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.